In this lecture, we're going to dive into the practical side of this project. Now, before we start working with the main tool for this section, Parabola, which will bring our project together, we need to set up a database. And for this project, we'll create our database in Airtable. This Airtable database that we'll create will store all of the data that we collect, such as article titles, descriptions, authors, sources, URLs, and sentiments. So we'll kick off this lecture in Airtable, where we'll create the foundation for our database. This will then get filled with the data by the time we've completed this project at the end of this section. Now, I know that many of you are familiar with Airtable, but if you're not, don't worry. I'll guide you through each step to help you set up the database that we need. So I'm starting this tutorial already logged into my Airtable account. So please create an account using the link in my address bar, which is airtable.com. Super simple. I've also provided a link to Airtable in the project resources lecture. Just so you know, we're using a free Airtable account, so there's no paid plan here that I'm using. You will have access to the same features that I do. So once you've created and logged into your account, you should see a screen that's similar to mine. And if you do, we're ready to start building our database in Airtable. So the first thing that you'll want to do is to click Create a Base in the bottom left. You'll then be taken to a base that you can customize. And Airtable offers a bunch of templates, but we don't need them for our project, so if any pop-ups or any steps to walk you through a process appear, such as the one on the right-hand side for me, we can simply close that because I'll be walking you through each step to create a simple database to hold the data that we need. Now, the first thing that I want to do while we're here is rename this Airtable database. So I'm going to click on Untitled Base in the top left, and then what I'm going to do is rename it to Stock Sentiment. Super simple. And also while we're here, what I'm also going to do is change the base's color. And this is more personal preference, but I'm going to change it to a gray color so it's just easier to see for you. And I'm going to leave the icon set to default, which we can see here, but feel free to change this if you want. Now, if you're part of a larger team, you can edit the base guide, which you can see here that I've just highlighted. And that'll be very helpful for everyone who works with this database to understand what it's about. But for our project, I'm going to leave it blank. So I can now click off this because we've changed the table name that we needed to. And what I'm going to do is now go into the specific tables within this database and edit those names. So the first thing I'm going to do is edit the table name within this database, and I'm going to change that to alphabet from table 1. So alphabet, which is the stock ticker symbol that we want to track, i.e. Google. Once I've done that, I'm also going to change the name of the grid view, and I'll just shorten it to grid. Super simple. Now it's time to edit the database headings to make them more relevant for our project. So in the first column, what I'm going to do is set that to title, and you want to make sure that it's set to single line text as the data type. So once you've done that, click Save. In the second column, we'll want to set that to description, and we'll want to make sure that the data type is set to long text. And again, once you've done that, click Save. In the third column, we'll want to set that to author. And again, as with the first column, we'll want to set that to single line text and click Save. In the fourth column, let's set that to publication, and we'll again want to set that data type to single line text. And then we'll also want to add another column, which we'll want to title URL. And the data type for that will naturally be URL, so we can create that field. And finally, we want to create a last column, and we want to label that sentiment. And we can set the data type for this to single line text as well, and simply press Create Field. And also, while we're here, we can delete all of these empty rows of data because we don't need them. So great job. We've now created our super simple Airtable database that will hold all of the data that we need, and we'll see that it gets populated by the time we've completed this project with everything that we want. Like I said, keep in mind this is a simple database in Airtable, but Airtable does have a ton of other advanced features which are worth exploring if you want to use this software more. But this is all we needed for our project. So that's it for this lecture, and thank you for following along. Join me in the next lecture where we'll start working inside of Parabola, and we'll connect the news API in Parabola to pull the data that we're interested in. I'll see you there.